What's up, fellas? How are y'all?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Glad to have y'all on. Thanks for the tequila. I'm gonna have to, like I was saying earlier, I'm slightly hungover today, but I'm gonna power through it, and I have to work out later, so I'm just gonna do a little bit with y'all.
Nah, just sip
It
away,
gets harder
man.
the older you get, huh?
Dude, it really does. I used to do that shit and sleep 2 hours and go all day long.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Go
And
straight
work
to
in the
work.
heat, in the heat in the oil field all day long and be just fine.
Oh
Yep.
man, we old now.
Dude, I can't even. I can't. Nope.
He said
I'll
nope.
do two or three, bro, and I'm feeling it the whole next day.
Oh,
So
man.
still, and I used to make fun of people about that too.
Oh yeah, no, we're there. We're there. I feel like
Both went
shit
through
for
that.
days.
Yep.
What? So let's talk about you guys. So you CalTex, y'all got CalTex Barbecue. You got y'all about to roll out out your trailer and start getting on the move. How long
Yeah.
y'all been doing this now?
Just 2 years in December.
Yeah. I mean, we've been cooking together for years and years, pretty much since we've known each other. But
Yeah.
as far as selling our food to people,
Yeah, we founded
2
the
years
LLC in 2 years ago in December. So hopefully we'll hit that 2-year mark right when we roll the trailer out and do a big event for it. Maybe.
that's the plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'll go since we got two guys on right now. I'm gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna ask you first, Martin. How did you get into cooking?
Man, in all honesty, I've pretty much cooked all my life. Single dad, worked all day, got home late at night. So me and my sisters did most of the cooking. And man, I enjoy it. Always cooked for the homeboys. UFC fights come over, throw something on the grill, see what's up.
When did that transform into smoking meats and stuff?
So I moved to Louisiana like going on 14 years ago. And man, I don't know, it's just smoking is a thing, when you move to the South. So I slowly just went from a gas grill, charcoal and whatnot, and then, moved on to that.
Graduated to the offset.
The big boy.
Yeah.
The big boy grill, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what about you?
So for me, it was an interesting background. My dad drove 18-wheelers cross country. He was gone a lot, and when he'd come in town, he'd always want to do yard work as soon as he came in town, and he'd start the grill, and it was always just a charcoal grill. He'd start the grill, and I was less than middle school age or something, and he'd start drinking Budweiser and doing yard work, and all the food would get burnt, and I'd have to eat burnt food later. So I got to where I figured it out, and I was like, dude, while he's over here doing his yard work, I'm going to take care of the food.
drunk.
And I started experimenting with whatever he threw on the smoker or on the charcoal grill, and skipped some time. Later in life, fast forward 20 years, I won Employee of the Year at a company and got a big green egg. So I went from nothing literally into a big green egg, and people at work were like, have you cooked a brisket yet? Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And then I realized I was good at it, and me and him went back and forth for forever, and it just evolved from there.
And y'all, now you're rolling that big. How many gallons is that pit?
Technically, 600 is like a 575. It's a weird size.
Yeah.
But we call it a 500 gallon because that's the industry type stuff.
Yeah. And how long y'all been rolling that now? When y'all started,
2 years.
So when you started, you got the
Yeah.
pit and said we're going.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
it,
it was
it happened fast, man.
It was a good story too. Whenever you're ready for that, on how we formed the LLC and got the smoker.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go.
We were getting drunk one night at his house, and I said, man, we could sell this. And he looked at me like I was one of the dumbest people he'd ever seen in his life, and I guess he stewed on it, and we talked about it here and there, and it kind of slowly died. And then one day I'm at work, and he just texts me like paragraphs, man, a novel.
And this was
And
like
it's a
months later.
Yeah, this is probably close to a year later.
So you just been stewing on it this long?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I literally put together a business plan and
it
shot it to him and went from there. But as far as procuring the trailer and doing the LLC for CalTex, it was interesting because we did that. We shot the business plan and talked, and he was like, "Oh, you for real?" So we shot ideas back and forth and we talked, but we didn't have, I guess, the financing figured out yet.
Yeah.
So we were trying to figure out how to get a trailer, what to do, how to start the LLC. So we started the process of the paperwork. Well, one day some land came available in Waskom. That was where I grew up at, and my family my in-laws, my sister, my sister's in-laws, like a bunch of family all lived down the same road in Waskom, and some land came available right in the middle of all of it. So I actually went and got a personal loan to buy this land. Well, 2 weeks later, after a handshake deal, we were literally fixing to do the paperwork, and the guy backed out on it. So now I'm sitting on a personal loan thinking, I'm just going to give it back to the bank, so I'm not buying this land no more. Well, on the way home from literally walking the land and talking to this guy, I was like, let me see real quick. So I started searching for pits, and we had been looking for pits online forever. Yeah. And I got on Facebook, and there's a guy in Gilmer, Texas that had the perfect one. I shot a picture to him. I was like, how bad do you want to do this? So we took the money that I was going to buy land for, drove straight to Gilmer, bought it that day, and drove all the way back and just took it off from there.
Yeah.
Started the whole process.
My neighbors had a Mardi Gras thing, and we cooked for them, and then that was our first
just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. Talked to the guys from 7 Tap. I mean, they had already, me and Jose had talked about it dozens of times, what we were going to do, and they hooked us up, started popping up there, and kind of just...
Yeah, so we started out as, just catering and events and stuff like that, because health permit wise, we couldn't get a trailer going. A smoker can't be permitted. Mm-hmm. So being in the oil field, I had a lot of contacts too. We did a lot of oil locations, a lot of safety meetings, a lot of catering where we just sold it to the company. So it was while we're both working full-time jobs, that was good money in the pocket to build the business. And over the past 2 years, that's what we've been doing, just literally investing every dollar back into the business. Every asset we need, every paperwork we need, everything to set us up for this point to where we can take off. So
yeah, that's the most. I think that's where everyone falls short, is they start it, and we've talked about this before, but they start it and then they immediately try to start making money off of it. Yeah. And it's just, dude, this is not an industry where you can do that. Unfortunately, not in this market. Maybe in another market, but not this one.
Yeah, it takes time, man.
Yeah,
it does. And I mean, if we would have been putting money into our pockets, we would not be even close to as far as we are right now.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? It takes people there's so many unforeseens, and then price of product, and just, I mean, you name it.
Oh, I mean, we learned, dude, I'm telling you, those first couple of ones we did, like, it was an experience.
When the first time you do those couple caters and you get way too much shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have your whole truck loaded down.
Dude. He took over as the shopping guy because I over purchased everything.
He buys too much.
I overbuy everything.
But it happens, man. I remember, like, the first couple I would do, like, my whole back of my truck would be slammed full of shit, and the back seat, and the trailer's hooked up, and then now my back seat's empty. Like, the more you do, you figure out how to be efficient and realize you don't need that much shit. But it's kind of like people cooking for like family dinners and get-togethers.
Right.
They always overcook. They just assume, well, I eat this much, so everyone else is going to eat that much. But it don't work out that way. And then you throw in sides and bread, and it just,
Our portions are pretty big too. So, like, I mean, 9 times out of 10, somebody's taking leftovers. I mean, unless you just like to eat, like, there's some food to go.
Yeah. And that's always a good thing too, man, in catering. Like, whether it's barbecue or anything, it's like, man, if you over, like, you don't want to run out. Like, that's the worst thing you can do.
Don't run out.
Yeah.
If they got a little extra to take home, it's fine. We've ran into that several times, but they love the product so much that's fine. They're like, I'm okay with taking this home.
Yeah. Dude, that happened yesterday. We did one yesterday, and it was for 100 people, but we had when you have 3 meats and 3 sides, it just goes way longer. Yeah. Like, where if you go 2 meats and 2 sides, you're out. You can get pretty dialed in pretty close, but when you add those extra steps, dude, there was a lot left over. I was just like, here, we're leaving it with you. You ordered it.
Honestly, man, when we do pop-ups, we still kind of go back and forth of how much we should have, because now that we've been doing it, we get more people, and we don't want to run out so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the difference in catering, man. Like, when you're setting up, you just really don't know. It's like, how much money do I want to make today?
Yeah.
But then also, if you get a line of 30 people and then you run out, the sold out thing is the best thing for barbecue, because everyone's used to it, right? Especially craft barbecue, they're used to hey, we have it till sell out.
Yeah. But, like, I get that, but I don't want to sell out in an hour either. I'd rather, if you can chill there for like 3 or 4 hours, you know what I mean? Get a bunch of new people, because we'll sit there and talk with everybody,
We've noticed too on these pop-ups that there's always 2 waves. When we show up, there's a line of people, and then it'll kind of smooth out, die out a little bit, and then 3 hours later, the line's back to being blown the doors out. So
Yeah.
So I mean, it's been an experience, that's for sure. But I think it's been.
It's all about analytics though with these pop-ups, because you got to factor in everything: where you're at, who you're serving,
what's going on that day,
that day. There's so many things that factor into how much you need to cook and how much you need to prepare for, and it's crazy because no matter how much you dig into it and think you're right, you end up, it's still a wild guess. You're 50-50 on whether you hit the mark on how much to cook.
Dude, I think the first time we went there, we cooked like 8 briskets, like 20 racks of ribs, all kinds of stuff. They had a soccer game that day. Dude,
so it worked out perfect.
We sold out in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So the next time, we cooked the same amount of food.
And we were like, oh my God, we got so much left over. We tried to sell some afterwards. And
it was a learning experience, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember the first couple big ones I did, and I would come home and like hit the neighborhood page and be like, hey, I got a couple pans of brisket. Somebody, because like, what am I going to do with that? I can't eat all this,
I'm lucky enough to have 3 kids, 2 of which are teenagers, and they'll eat it all.
They'll eat it, but they ain't buying it.
That's it.
I got my in-laws too. Every time we have a pop-up or something, if we have anything left over, they love the pork belly, and they're like, hey, just slide me some pork belly if you got some left over. I do it every time, but it's like, I wish I could sell this stuff. Not saying I want them to buy it, but I'd rather sell out so I can build the business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, even my kids, they'll be helping us. They help run plates and stuff, and they'll be like, "Hey, can I get this?" And I'm like, "That's money. That's money."
Yeah,
That's
we
money.
mess with them too, because like my son, the first time I think we did a pop up, Martin was messing with him, and Ethan asked, my oldest son, 13, he said, how much am I going to get paid in this? And Martin told him, you've already ate your salary today.
You're done.
He had like 2 sides while he was working.
We do the same thing with our kids, dude. I'll tell them, like, look, man, you're working. I'm feeding you. I don't need to pay you. Like, they'll help. They'll help us to like put the little branding stickers on the, like, for the meal preps and stuff. They do that stuff. They have fun doing that. But I'll pay them like $5 to do that. But they're 9 and 10. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
You mentioned a minute ago about learning curves and stuff on doing pop-ups. Have you ever had a straight-up disaster day?
Dude,
we have, and I'm going to tell you about it.
Tell me about it. But honestly, dude, I really don't. I can't really think of where I've had a disaster. I've had some horrible weather, but it still worked out. I don't know, man. I really haven't had a disaster day where I lost everything or something, because I'm so meticulous and over, but I mean, sometimes you can't control the elements.
Yeah.
But I have had some like torrential downpour out of nowhere situations that really fucked everything up. Like, and I just had to like on a whim, like pivot, couldn't get a fire going, like stuff like that. I've had that happen, but I've never had like well,
I wouldn't say we lost everything, but it was,
Talking about the first thing?
The Bourbon Barbecue Festival. So
I knew
that was our very first actual event. So
where's that at?
Downtown
on Shreveport side.
Is that the one they did? Right
Chase.
there with Chase.
Yeah, Chase Boydum.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with a Pat earlier. Sorry, I'm bad with names. Man, from the beginning. So we get our meat, we prep everything, we're trying to plan, we're back and forth, stressing out or whatever, and we get ready to go. And naturally, we both live in 2 different places. I'm in Greenwood, and he's in Dogwood and Houghton. I had the smoker at my house, and I was last minute. I'm always last minute for everything, and I was last minute trying to throw everything in the truck to get down there, and I was going to meet him. I get outside to try to hook up to the trailer, and the hitch lock wouldn't unlock. It was one of the ones that slides up in the ball hitch and has a lock over the top of it. Messing with it, it wouldn't open. I don't know if the key was messed up or it was, corroded inside there or whatever, but I couldn't get it to unlock, and I was already almost running late. So I was panicking. Dude, I went and grabbed a Sawzall and cut the lock off and stuff, got it out, hooked up, took off across town. We start setting up. He shows up. Well, then I don't know, as soon as the line took off, dude, our line was like across the street and down the sidewalk, and I started full-blown panicking. Like, and the guy next to us, it's funny, the guy next to us, Dylan Teakle, he's with Ghost Ramen. Yeah. So he was, our festival neighbor next door, and he's been in the game for a while. So he saw me, and he was laughing, and he like picked up, he picked up his arm, and it said, "Just keep cooking," and he had a tattoo, and he's like, "Dude, just keep cooking, you're fine." I was like, "Yeah, all right." So we just I go back messing with the pit, right? and we had full pork belly from front to back in a 600-gallon pit.
Yeah.
Nothing but pork in there. I had a blocker log blocking the heat from hitting the first couple of them.
God.
Well, I didn't swap the blocker log out enough, and it ended up smoldering. But once it started smoldering, I turned around to come help him at the counter for a second and peeked over my shoulder to look at the temperature, and the gauge was literally moving like this.
Shit.
And I was like, oh, God. So I went over there, popped the latch, opened it, and as soon as I opened it, like, I closed it real fast, and I closed it and latched it. I closed the stack and the damper in the back, and I looked over, and there was these two old guys sitting there that was from I think it's Just Keep Smoking or something like that.
Yeah.
They were next door, and they're two old timers, and he just kind of smiled, and he said, "I've been there," and I waited a second, and I busted it open, and it had built up so much pressure inside it to where I almost couldn't even unlatch the thing. So I bust the latch open it burped. I got a shovel and got all the fire out in the parking lot. Like, literally got the whole firebox emptied out in the parking lot, opened the whole thing up.
Downtown Shreveport.
Downtown Shreveport. And so we checked a couple of the pork bellies that's closest to the fire, and they were charred. But the rest of them, we kind of moved them around. I wrapped them a little bit so it would soften it up. We saved all except for, I think, 2 we lost. But then later, this keeps going. Now, this is all one day of all this stuff. It was the first event we ever did. We get done with all this. We pack up and leave. We're throwing stuff in the vehicles, getting hooked up, whatever, and I pull out onto the main road, onto, I think it was Market or Spring, one of those, and the trailer come off the bottom.
Oh, God.
And went under the back of the truck. And I don't know if we were in a rush, me and him. I don't know who hooked it up, who didn't. It doesn't matter. But it came off and went under the truck. And there was a guy behind me that was leaving the festival too, and he had a good idea. He stuck 2 blocks of wood that, from the fire under the wheels and under the truck wheels, and pulled forward on the truck to where it lifted the back end up, and then we just jacked the trailer up and put it back and took off. And I'll say ever since then, it's been smooth sailing. But that day will stick in my brain forever because
I laughed at him all damn
and we still had people flocking to us that were like, dude, this tent was the tent to go to. Like, everybody was coming up, was like, man, my partner down there said we got to go to the blue tent, because we just had a basic blue tent that was from Academy or whatever. And everybody's like, we've got to hit up the blue tent before they run out. We ran out of what we were supposed to be doing samples of and started serving brisket that we had bought on the side just to do. And we went through all the stuff we were supposed to cook for the event, plus several prime briskets, and then started giving people like mac and cheese and whatever we could.
Yeah. Dude, we made so many tacos that day. It was because that was our whole thing, was like, we have to make samples. We got to do something small. You know what I mean? So we're like tacos, pork belly tacos, and then we were like, yo, let's cook a couple briskets because that's what we're good at.
Yeah.
And once we burned the pork belly up, he's like, oh, what are we like? We're like, what are we supposed to do? I'm like, just throw the brisket on there. Like, we'll start serving brisket.
That is
you know
one
what I mean?
thing.
Nobody cared.
I've ran into some situations like that for sure. Like, for whatever reason, you may have some like grease, and that it'll catch fire. Next thing you know, smolder your shit. And I had it one time where I just I had some pork butts on for probably about 3 hours, and with an offset, dude, you never know. Like, one whiff of wind, the humidity's down, whatever it is, and you might catch a spike.
And dude, we had a 600-gallon offset full, like from front to back.
That's
nothing but pork fat.
That's it.
And it's a recipe for disaster, dude, because you have to be careful. And I had some butts on for an event, and lucky it was someone I knew. It turned out, I'll tell you real quick, but I had some on, and I was running 3 or 4 for catering the next day. Someone I knew, they've eaten the food plenty, so I was like, it's a typical day. We're doing some pork butts. It's no big deal, like nothing crazy. I think we're doing like a taco setup or something the next day. Running a fire, it gets up to like 300. I'm like, what's going on? So I look at them, okay, it's fine. Well, I didn't have my trailer quite level as I normally do, where I had it sit at normally, and that grease came down in that fire. I'm sure you've been there.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened, in all honesty, because
it caught the whole damn trailer. I mean, it started burning all the way in to right there where the butts were. I got them off. They charred. They'd been doing that for like 10 minutes. I got them off where I could at least get that char off and kind of cut some of that char off. But at that point, I was just like, well, it's time to burn this trailer off. So I just let the damn fire go. And I pulled everything off of it. I let it burn out. I drained it. I was like, well, I hadn't cleaned it real good in a couple months, and it just burned itself off. But, dude, that shit's scary, because a person who it's just like those people that catch the grills on fire and know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Like if you don't let that do what it's supposed to do, or if you don't, control that fire, smother it, whatever. Yeah. And like you said, if you just in panic open it and all that air gets in, dude, it just
it'll turn into a torch.
But when you're doing it at home and it happens, that's one thing. But when you're doing it at a festival with like 300-400 people, you know what I mean?
Well, that's where I was getting at is I'm sure you've gotten to now where you have that shit already cooked.
Oh yeah.
So, but when I was starting out too, I was wanting to even run it all the way into fresh. Like I'm fresh, but it's still fresh if you pull it off that morning, and ride it.
I was sitting there while we put the meat on the smoker, and I'm sitting there cutting up cilantro and onions and stuff because I'm just like, no, this has to be fresh.
Well, that's what you think, but when you realize, hey, there's a difference between fresh and efficient, and like, we're not, there's one of those things.
I was not efficient at all.
Right, but that's how it goes, man.
You got to measure how much quality you actually lose by doing it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna destroy the product or serve something that you're not happy about or the people's not happy about, that's one thing. But if you're able to cook it the day before or prep the day before and keep it at the right temperature, dude, there's
makes life easy.
Nobody knows the difference.
No, you can't tell the difference. You get that brisket off that morning.
Yeah.
It's 6 a.m. and you're not serving it to that evening, dude. It's just fine. You just keep it at one temp, and that thing is probably actually better.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, dude. Chicken, I've ran into it a bunch because I've had some fires on events like you're talking about now that I think about it, but nothing. I always caught it, but damn near.
Yeah.
Just I tell my wife all the time, we're down to the wire. She's like, I'm so tired of hearing you say that shit. So I quit saying it. But for the first year, I would be down to the wire on everything about leaving the kitchen at the right time, getting there exactly at the right time, and it always seems to work itself out. But God, dude.
Oh no, man, it drives me crazy because I'm a pre-planner. Like I have to just have some kind of organization. You know what I mean? And he's opposite.
I'm a planner, but I'm not a time manager.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that. Yeah. But
I let it catch up on me. Like everything be planned out, everything's going smooth, but then I don't realize, I guess, how much I got to pack into that last 30 minutes, and it's like, oh crap, I'm
like, man, we should have this. Like I'm doing things on Thursday for the cook on Saturday. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if you've gotten to this yet, but like I've noticed with having, especially in this time of season where all these caterers are stacked up, especially when it's mainly barbecue. I don't guess I can have this conversation with some people who are just doing cooking like days of.
Yeah.
But like I won't let myself go past 3 days out because I get stressed the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because if I have 3 caterers coming up and they're all back to back and they're within the next 3 days, I don't even think about next week. Because I'm like, dude, I got to get through these couple. Because I used to would try to plan out 6 in a row if they're all, and it's just overwhelming.
It's so much more than what people think it is, and I mean, it takes time.
And you have to get your time right because, like, if you have say you start smoking tonight and you're rolling a catering the next day at noon. Well, then you're rolling maybe another. You can't use that same meat from that because you might be rolling another catering that following day at night. And so, like, getting all that shit stepped in with and running the offset, dude.
And then another thing too that a lot of people don't think about until they get deep into it is like you can't cook everything with the same wood unless you're cooking all pork or all beef or whatever. But like this week, for example, a couple guys asked me if they can throw a turkey on while I'm cooking briskets, and it's like, dude, I use post oak for the brisket.
You don't want that on that turkey.
If we put post oak on turkey, it's
smoky
so overpowered.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand.
Hickory on turkey? You use hickory on turkey? What do you use?
Pecan.
I use pecan. Dude, I use pecan a lot. We had this conversation too, but I use pecan a lot.
But that factors into a lot of the logistics too, because you got to plan when you're going to use, start fading out of the brisket into them. But I can play games with. Once I get the brisket wrapped, then I can start using.
Yeah, because you're not taking smoke anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But also your fire temp's different too. The different wood.
Yeah.
Like, people don't think that pecan burns hot.
Yep.
And you want to cook a turkey a lot hotter than you do a brisket.
Yep.
That's the good thing about our smoker though is the difference is it's so big. We can cook something up top that's way hotter than what we got down low. You know what I mean? So we can kind of play with that, move things around, and do what we need to do. We make it work, man.
Yeah. Learned a lot of things too with the smoker over the last 2 years with if you put certain things in certain areas and direct the flow of smoke and the convection how you want it to, I can kind of manipulate the temperatures too a little bit. Block it up here to bring this.
And
up
you can
a little
only
bit.
do that with an offset,
right?
And that's what people don't understand. Like, and every offset's different. Like I have hot spots, and I have spots on mine to where you get a total airflow, and then I have a spot where you just get a kiss, and then I got another spot where you just get direct under, and then I have another spot where it just completely pushes down. So you're finding those different things to cook. I could run a brisk. I can run chicken, pork, and brisket at the same time. I just have to move them around.
Yeah. And I mean, that's pretty much what we do. I mean, because all we have is one smoker, you know what I mean? Like, the plan is hopefully to have, multiple 1,000-gallon smokers and, live the dream or whatever you want to call it. But, I mean, right now with where we're at, dude, we've had to learn how to wing it a lot, and I think we've done pretty good with it.
That makes for the best stories, though, too.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where there's something to be said about if someone just pops up and opens a damn turnkey establishment and buys into a franchise and get a recipe and a how-to, and they get some old hickories, that plug up to the gas, and they don't have to do shit, which is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But like, there's something to be said whenever you're using that real wood. You're learning how to control a fire, and if you take it all the way back, dude, this is the first form of art besides dancing. Like, literally was cooking, right? Like over a fire. Like,
I love it, managing.
That's how the good Lord intended.
That's one thing too. Growing up, like, my family was big on my dad's side of the family was big about sitting around a fire just BSing. So I learned at a young age how to manage fire and mess with it, how to make it do what you want it to do and stuff. So I just love that. I factored that into this a lot. So it comes in handy for sure, knowing how to make the fire do what you want it to.
Did y'all? Do you ever do any pellet stuff?
No,
I did.
I
don't
say
care
no.
what anybody says.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I say no, but my in-laws had a pellet smoker and I call them outdoor ovens, but he's got a pellet smoker, and I've cooked on it, and they're nice. It's convenient, it's quick, it's easy, but it's, I'm not gonna. I don't make fun of people for having a pellet smoker, but if somebody stands toe to toe to you and says that they go through the same thing, like, I smoked a brisket on a pellet smoker, nah.
But I do think now that they're here, like, I do think if you're wanting to get into, if you're intimidated about getting into smoking, you can start with a pellet smoker and learn the ropes and then graduate to an offset versus, I mean, there may be somebody just get an offset and just get completely, undetermined immediately, and overwhelmed. But I had when I first got into this, I was trying to figure out how I can scale. I hadn't partnered up with the guys downstairs yet, so I didn't have all the amenities I have now.
Right.
And so I was just running off of, just like you guys started, like out of the house with an offset and an oven and another little grill. And I was like, okay, how am I gonna do this shit? Well, I bought the biggest pit balls. That was like the first investment was my big pull behind pit, and we barely got money back to pay for it and all that. And then I got the pit balls, like the 700 series or whatever. You could fit 8 pork butts on it. So what I would do was I would run them on my. This is because I wouldn't get no sleep, dude. No sleep. Because I was keeping that fire going all night. And then even after I wrap them, trying to keep that temperature the same. Well, dude, I was like, if I get this, it's like an outside oven. I'll put it on the back porch. Yeah. I can wrap 8 butts, stick on that, and I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a while and got really efficient, like my first year doing that. But like, even starting like bare bones and that was a huge investment for me because it was like the grill I was upwards of like $3,000 in the grill. And mine's not near as big or nice as yours guys is. And then I got it, and I got a good deal on it. I stole it from that dude, but that was his. Anyways, the next investment was, that dude, that's what he asked. He asked more, and I jewed him down on that, and he agreed to it. But like,
if he agreed, that's all that matters.
I know exactly. If he's listening today, bro, I made a lot of money off that.
Thank you,
thank you so much. But our next investment was that pit boss. It was $700, and I was like, dude, that's a sting, for me for this, project that's not producing. That's just now starting to pay back a little bit. Now I got to take that and dump it right back into this. But dude, hours and hours it saved me in sleeping.
Yeah, it saves you a lot.
Man, look, the way I see it is I have one, it works for me. I have a full-time job and I got 3 kids. Like I said, they all play sports. They all do. It's convenient. It's easy.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I know a guy who has a barbecue place. I'm not going to say any names, but their smoker went down. And he said they ran briskets off of his pellet grill, and nobody batted an eye, nobody knew the difference. I think you can get the same quality. Obviously, it's not as I guess you don't get as much out of it personally. Then like he said, if I'm sitting there stoking the fire, watching it, going every step for step. But man, if it's just you and you're chilling and it's you and the family at the house, buy a pellet grill.
Oh yeah, dude.
Buy a pellet grill.
They're fine. But that's really, I never really smoked much on it at all. I charged some, like I like seared some steaks on it, get it real hot.
Yeah.
But I mainly used it for a glorified oven. Outside oven is what I used it for.
I mean,
and it worked. It worked great.
Yeah.
Until all that pork grease gets down in there and it catches on fire. That's happened before too.
Yep. You got to clean them all, man.
Dude,
you got to clean them all.
Pork fat, bro. It is that and chicken, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah.
My favorite grill to use, I got a Weber kettle grill, and I use that thing more than anything.
Weber kettle's undefeated, man. They're ridiculous.
Dude,
I guess I didn't understand how good and versatile they were, and I finally bought one probably 6 months ago. I've already cooked on it 30 times.
I think once you really learn how to run a grill or a smoker, then you take that knowledge and bring it back. Because I used to have one and really just didn't do nothing but burgers. I didn't really know how to do anything else.
Right.
But bringing it back to that, I watched a guy at Hogs last year. Wasn't that Josh? Didn't he have like a huge? Didn't he do a hog on a kettle? A huge Weber? It was like a Weber. It was like it was as big as this table. Yeah. And they did a hog on it.
Damn. Okay.
It was crazy. I don't know what brand it was. I don't know if Weber made that specifically for that event or it was a similar design, but it was as big as this damn table.
The guy at the EBM Backyard Cookout had a big bathtub.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. Dude, it was ceramic.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is basically
perfect.
Like a
Big ass green egg.
Yeah. No, that thing was awesome. He's like, we've had it forever. So-and-so built it. I was like, this thing is badass.
That's pretty cool.
Dude, I didn't try his food, but I mean, if you can cook some good food on something like that, I mean, you know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Have you seen the filing cabinet smokers? Have y'all seen those?
Yeah, I've seen them.
That's old school.
I don't know how to feel about that.
No,
man.
it's so
There's so much paint and metal.
I was gonna say,
my
you
God.
have to run heat for a while to burn all that crap out. But I like the ingenuity though, because I went and bought off Amazon a piece of expanded metal, and I've been rounding up. There's bricks all over the place on my property, on the outside of my property, for whatever reason. Like an old house was there. I've been rounding a bunch of them up, and I'm gonna build like an outside, just literally just a wood grate, and put coals under it.
Yeah.
And just primitive cooking,
Yeah.
I enjoy stuff like that. A lot of people are like, I don't want to go through all that. I enjoy it.
Dude. That's the only way we've ever cooked a hog up until I started rolling hogs for catering, and I could shove the little 60-pounders into my offset, and I cooked those. But dude, all the hogs we do are right over coals. We're not no fire. It's all coals. We'll do it just the same method as a cinder block pit, but with our one we built. But I just something about that, man. I don't know. The over the hot coals thing is amazing.
Like I said, it's the way God intended it, man. I mean,
man.
We didn't have all this extra stuff whenever it was cavemen.
Have you ever tried the cowboy cooking, where you just throw it on the coals like a steak?
No, I haven't. So
I haven't, but I want to.
I watch it on. I've seen it on a couple of the shows and stuff. Have you tried it yet?
No, I just don't understand how you don't get like a gritty taste.
I don't either. I don't think I'm gonna go that route. But I mean, I do like the rotisserie style.
Yeah.
I do like the hanging style. Yep. There's so much. I think when you get into barbecue, you guys know this now. You've been in it long enough. Like, there's so many techniques that aren't talked about that are only passed around within the barbecue community.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's like competition. Sweetie was on previous episode, and we're talking about competition ribs and doing those just in a barrel. Like, most of them are doing barrel smokers now, and you can. I mean, a lot of people are even hanging them in there. Yep. The old style of hanging in like in a big offset.
Yep.
There's just so many methods.
It's
based on areas
different.
too. Like South Texas digging holes and cooking with, they cover it with sand and everything. Then you got the like Argentina methods where they're just hanging it over, and you got to basically move it, but with wherever the wind's blowing and stuff.
That's one of those things too. Dude, you can't just do that anywhere. Like your wind, like if we're getting 20-mile-an-hour winds here, you're not doing that.
No. You light everything on fire.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like those, but there's just art in that, man. There's art in putting meat over fire. No matter how you
down
do
there
it,
to Mexico, they dig holes and throw coals in them and wrap their meat in banana leaves or whatever, and then cover it back up and let it cook.
That's what we did out back.
Fantastic.
The Hawaiian, the Sione and them, they ran theirs in a hole. Yeah. They dug a hole and ran theirs in banana leaves, and I ran mine side by side, and we did ours over coals, and completely different tastes, the exact same pig, completely different tastes.
A couple of different bucket list things I want to do with barbecuing. With one of them's digging a hole and cook something in it, and Another one's a whole hog over coals, like over a pit that you put together. I don't want to put it on our smoker or whatever. I want to build a primitive pit and cook it over coals.
Yeah.
And there's a couple bucket list things like that I got to check off eventually. We'll probably do it, but cooking an alligator too, because we're in Louisiana.
A lot of that too, yeah. Dude, we do a lot of those, and I do the alligator on the same pit as I'll do the hog on, which is amazing. Yeah. But I've done it on the offset too. Well, y'all need to sign yourself up to come down to hogs this year. Y'all can come with us if y'all want to.
Definitely.
We got a couple extra spots. I'd love to have y'all.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing about that is it's all pork, so it's pretty cool. Like you get to. It's great to do a traditional, competition where it's pork, chicken, I mean, brisket, chicken, ribs. But whenever you do one of these all pork events, like it's just phenomenal at the taste profiles of everything. Like everyone just hones in on their signature, whatever it is they have. Like you have they call it a pork pourri, which is like you can make any dish out of pork.
Okay.
Any dish, and then you have like a pulled pork category where you actually pull your money muscle, turn your pork box in nice. Then you have a rib category, you have the whole hog category.
Hell yeah.
And then they actually do have a wing night the night before, bacon and wing night, dude. So it's just taking all that, like every part of the pig, and then just making a whole damn event out of it. It's pretty cool.
And the event's for a good cause.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, the only competition we've ever done was y'all's, the EBM one, and that in itself was.
Hey, y'all knocked it out of the park. Y'all got People's Choice.
We got People's Choice.
Was it?
That's what we really wanted to.
That's the best thing, dude.
Yeah.
Unless you're just in the circuit and you're just trying to keep rolling, and make money,
We had, honestly, we weren't gonna do it. We were like, because our main thing was we don't want to do competitions. We want to serve barbecue. You know what I mean? But we did a pop up at 7 Tap. Literally the weekend before, and Jose was hounding us the whole time. Hey man, you guys got to do this. Telling you it's not like your regular competition. Do it. And we had I think that day is when we served the cinnamon roll pork belly burn ends that we do. And so the People's Choice came, and I told him, I was like, man, you want to do it? And he was like, let's do it. And I was like, I want the People's Choice. That's what I wanted from day one. So we served them things up, and honestly, it was once again a learning experience, but man, People's Choice, we got what we wanted. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody by saying this, but I care more about what 400 people say than 4 people. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And some things that I think we've talked about this too, but it's with the competition side. We've always wanted to steer clear of it. Because it's just a completely different game. Like it's all about the one bite. And
of course,
you eat a whole brisket that's made for competition at home, you're gonna get yourself sick because it's so pumped full of crap. They're looking for one bite. Yeah. But one thing that like I'll never let this down for whatever reason, but like we've got our scorecards from that, and we sat and looked at them, and there was 2 of them that these 2 guys literally sat next to each other. I ain't got a clue who they were. 2 guys sit next to each other. And the max you could get was a 5, and I think they had 6s for like a bonus or something. If it just like knocked you out of the park, you get a 6. This one sheet literally was like 5, 5, 6, 5, 5, 5, 6, 5, and like a note at the bottom: best brisket I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Guy sitting next to him was like 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3. Like I was, how?
Yeah.
Like you ate the same thing. Like literally.
It's so weird. That is one good thing about. I mean, it's a true test, right? Because everyone's different. Right. Like some people want a dry brisket. Yep. I don't. I like fat on my brisket.
I do too.
Some people want. Some people don't like craft. They want a saucier brisket. Like so. It's really weird, and it's hard when you pick a panel of judges. You got to make sure you have a diverse panel because if you can wipe the floor across all palates, then you did something well. Yeah. But I said the same thing about competitions. That's why I still like doing. At least helping facilitate them or competing at least in hogs every year.
Yeah.
Is that. It's not the best practices for if you're going to start a restaurant or like you do pop-ups or anything. It's not the best practices, but it teaches you so much.
Yeah.
It teaches you.
We learned a lot.
You learn, and it helps you in a pinch because then you learn how to pivot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get in a bind and you're 30 minutes from turning, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
I'm 20 degrees off. You're like, you have to pivot and figure it out. So it does get you lighter on your feet. And there is. I mean, people are weird, but it's a weird scenario to where sometimes it gets political, you know, and there's all these sanctioning bodies and all that. Mm-hmm. That's why when we do stuff, we try to keep it like we mix up the judging panels. We try to get people that actually know what the hell they're talking about when they taste stuff, not just some random person off the street. Yep. You know, you don't get to judge just because you bought a judging ticket from us. You know, like maybe you can judge, but you're not going to be counted. You know, whatever. You're not going to be counted into the final. You know, the final table. But I don't know, man. It's interesting. The competition game is interesting. You know, like Sweetie was on the previous episode and we were talking about that. That's all he does. Yeah. But he also has a barbecue restaurant. Yeah. And he's figured it out. You know, but that's a crazy balance.
There's people too, like, you know, Ernest. I think his name's Ernest at the Burnt Bean. That's what he literally did. He was competition barbecue and destroyed the circuit to the point to where he gained so much attention when he opened his restaurant. It blew the doors out. He did nothing but competition and then switched to a restaurant, and that's how that's
like our boy Grant Pinkerton down in Texas. Like he's the same thing.
Pinkertons?
Yeah, Pinkerton. So they'll be cooking next to us. That's another thing, dude. Y'all come to Hogs this year. There's so many celebrities.
Like meet some people.
There's so many celebrities. Like the first year, I just couldn't believe it. Now we've developed like friendships where I know these guys. We'll talk to them, but like Blake's always. I can't think of Blake's name. I'm pulling a blank right now, but Blake's wins World Hogs. He kicks ass in hog every year, and he's so awesome. That's another good thing about competitions. You'll be in a spot. And you'll have your neighbor who's competing against you will still come over. Hey man, you need help? Right. Like I was having the first year, I was having a problem putting my pulled pork in a. I thought you just put all the pork and threw it in the damn thing. I didn't know. I didn't know you pulled the bacon out and you did the money muscle. I just never thought about that because I just cooked pulled pork for people and I pulled the shit. Yeah. Well, then I got into that first competition and I watched them make it, and I was like, dude. I have no fucking clue what you're doing. I was like, you mind helping me? He's like, exactly. He's like, I don't mind because. He was just focused on hog for that team. So he's like, I don't care. I didn't cook the pork, so you're not competing with me, really. I'll come over here. I'll show you how to do it. And so he helped us lay our box out, and we ended up getting like 12th out of 100. And I guarantee you some of it was appearance. And had I just put that shit in a box and handed it in, I probably would have got 30th, and 40th.
To touch on that note,
the barbecue community is crazy.
That's what I was going to say. We had a good, and not just this one, like going back all the way to the Bourbon and Barbecue Festival, it was incredible because we were new to the whole scenario, new to the whole game, didn't know anybody. And, other people that are established, they're walking over, hey, chef, what do you got going over here? And in my head, I'm like, I'm not a chef.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
I ain't never been called that before.
I don't want to steer this guy wrong. Like, I'm an oil field and army guy. But I didn't say nothing. I just rolled with it. And it turns out they all call each other that, in the area. And then literally everybody was so cool, like, hey, trade me your contact information, I'm gonna help you do this, that, whatever. And then here recently we got an opportunity to go with Sunbird with Brian and David. We went with them to the Troubadour Festival. That was incredible because, like you said, like the celebrity status people, like we went, and to know how grounded they are, like we're set up here, helping Brian and David do their thing and stuff, and literally everybody that walks by, hey Brian, like they know him by Brian and David and not by Sunbird. Yeah. We went downtown to go get dinner the night before, and everybody that walked by was like, hey Brian, how are you doing? Hey David. And the day of the event, we go walk around BS and we're like, oh, we're helping Sunbird and Hoodoo. They're from like Connecticut, and they know these guys by first name basis. It's like, how this is. I don't understand how they like the community really.
I really made
ties
it a point
together.
To walk around that place and meet people because these are all people that me and him have been watching their videos for years.
That's what's cool about it.
Homing our skills and trying to figure out what we're doing wrong, what we and things. So you get there and you see all these people and you're kind of starstruck, but then you start talking to them and like he said, Hoodoo, man, that guy, they made like a crispy pork belly, like chicharrone.
Yeah.
And dude,
incredible. And they were cool people.
Fantastic. And he was just like, man, add me on Instagram. I'll let you know how I'll run you through how I do them. And I'm like, really? And like, just everybody there is just supportive and cool as hell.
A guy like, for example, Max with Texarkana Barbecue. I don't know if you watched any of his stuff.
Man, dude, I'm the worst about YouTube, these barbecue influencers, but like, I know the ones that. And I know the competition circuit guys and the ones that have restaurants and flagships. Those are the ones I kind of geek out over, But,
so like Max, I think he was. Don't quote me on this, but I think he was one of the pit masters for Goldie's.
Okay.
And took off and did his own thing. He started being an influencer, and he actually cooks and everything, not just a YouTube guy, but he really knows what he's doing. And I recognized him. We were literally the night before. We were getting everything ready and stuff. Or I think it was the early morning because we got to get out there early the morning of and start cooking. He came by there and just walked up in our tent and starts looking in the pit and looking around. And he's like, "Hey, my friend, I'm Max." And I recognized who he was. I was like, "Holy shit, this is the guy from Texarkana Barbecue." And like, he's like, to me, like celebrity status in the barbecue world. And I was like, "Man, it's incredible to meet you. I appreciate everything, blah, blah, blah." And he was like, "Get your phone. Let me give you your number." And we traded contacts and stuff. He was like, "Hit me up anytime and I'll teach you anything." Yeah. I was like, and I just met the guy. He was like, "If you're tied in with these two guys, I got you."
Yeah, there's something about that, man. That's the first year we did the big stuff down south. That's how it felt. Like similar. Like I had Tina Cannon on the podcast. You know, she's won multiple championships and been all over, and she's sponsored by Green Egg, and she was on the she won the Netflix's first barbecue showdown. And so I had her on the podcast, but I never met her. I had her on like a Zoom podcast. It was like right outside of 2020 when we couldn't do much. And then I got to meet her when I went to Hogs. The first thing I did, found out she was there, and we stayed in contact, and then got to meet her there. And she cooks. They travel, and they'll build a cinder block pit on site to cook with. And that's what we were considering doing until we created a different pit style. But like that shit was just cool. It was like you talk to this person, you saw him go through this whole competition, this whole show, win it, and like it's just, I don't know, something cool about it. You know?
No, it's very cool, man. I mean, like even me, I'm from Southern California, so like Heritage Barbecue was there. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah,
they're great people, man. They were one of the ones I wanted to meet personally because they're an hour away from my hometown, and you know, that's my style, you know. Great people, talked to them, told me straight up, "Hey, when you come back out to visit the family, let us know. We'll run you through this and whatever you need." You know, it's just different, man. Like, because when we got to it, especially doing the bourbon and barbecue, and you know, we thought people were going to be more cutthroat. I'm just going to be honest with you. We were like, man, everybody's going to be out for themselves because they're trying to sell their product, so they're not going to help us, you know. But
it was really eye-opening.
It's crazy, man.
And then how laid back, like we go into it all stressed out and trying to make sure everything's perfect, and we're worried about what this guy's doing, and that guy's doing, worried about what we're doing. Like we're all stressed out, worrying about things. And like it's funny because we went to the Bourbon and Barbecue Festival was a small tidbit of it, but when we went to something as big as the Troubadour Festival with 40 vendors, and then 40 Texas vendors, and like I think there was 3 out of state, which you had Heritage, Hoodoo, and I can't remember what the other one was. There's 3 of them, and then literally when you walk in that place, dude, these people are so chill. Like every single one of them didn't care one bit about what's going on. They're just in their zone. They're just hanging out.
Honestly, most of them are just trying to drink and listen to music and bullshit. I mean, that's why part of the reason why we started this, because we can just hang out, drink beer together, listen to music, watch UFC fights or football or whatever we do, you know, and that's my best friend. Can't be, you know, can't get no better than that.
Can't mess that up, bro. That's what it's about, man. It's there's something in it. It's a brotherhood, man. It's sisterhood. You know, I mean, there's just as many great women pitmasters out there now as there is guys, which is cool to see. It's just cool to see. Y'all definitely have to try to come make it this, you know, coming.
It's April, right? Man.
It'll be April 4th through 6th, I believe. I think that's the dates. We check those dates.
I've already talked to my wife about it. We're
okay, it's 4th through 6th, yeah. So you're gonna have over 100 teams. I mean, dude, and it's just amazing to see everyone's setup. You know, because every single person out there is doing something different. And then there's so many big teams that they bring in pitmasters and like world renowned chefs and create a team. They'll build teams out, you know, and say, this is my pitmaster doing my hog, this is my guy doing my ribs, this is my guy doing, and they'll handpick these teams, and we're just like some, you know, backwoods, some bitches from North Louisiana just threw some shit together and, you know, run out there, and, you know, it's just there's something cool because you can go head to head with some of the best in the world, literally, and still see how good you are and learn from them. You know?
Those kind of scenarios, as far as the competition world goes, I'm completely open to it, but I don't want to get involved in like the circuit.
Right. Yeah, no, I never could either. Like I was talking to Sweetie about it the other day. Like it just, like hats off to him. I have so much respect for that dude because he's doing 46 competitions a year.
That's crazy.
You know, and winning them, just winning them. You know, he has He
almost
said
every week.
Yeah.
And
and I will speak for him, man. But he's like, I just want to beat you up. Like I want to beat everybody. He said, I don't get mad if I lose, but I really want to beat you.
But the thing is, like, he must have a good team at his restaurant to where he feels comfortable doing that. You know what I mean?
About that too,
so he's definitely got some good players. Because let's be honest, if we opened a restaurant, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
I mean, because it's hard for me to just trust anybody to do what we do.
It takes a while. Like we've built a team. We built a team to where if I need to let Josh handle something while I'm doing something else, I can trust him. But we've worked enough to alongside each other. It takes that. This is your brand and your name and your taste and
exactly.
It's very hard to emulate that, and you have to have someone alongside you working with you long enough to pick up the exact steps there is.
And we've been the only ones cooking. You know what I mean? So that's just something. I guess it would, like you said, it would take time for us. But like I said, kudos to him for being able to do it, man. Because that's a lot.
Oh, dude, that's crazy. Well, you guys. So let's talk about y'all's. What's it looking like, man? You got your big, 500-gallon pit, and then y'all just got you a new trailer, and you're about to hit the road and start doing pop-ups and like doing the food truck thing.
Yeah, the food truck thing is going to be full time for me. Martin's going to do what he can when he's not working. He's still got his full-time job.
Still paying cars, man.
Hey, man.
Which is, hey, that's fine. Our plan was, me and him both were just going to work full time until we got to the point to where we were ready to take off with this thing, and then I just got to a point where I was in the oil and gas industry for almost 15 years, and the company I was with, things weren't going, we didn't see eye to eye, I guess. So I took the opportunity and jumped at it, and I talked to him about it. So you cool with me trying to do this on my own with him backing it? He's supporting it 100%, whether it's financially or he's helping me on the side. He went and bought a bunch of stuff while I was out of town last week for these Thanksgiving cooks. So he's still 100% involved, but I'm going to take off with the food trailer and try to run it. The plan is 4 days a week right now. Yeah. I'm going to cook on Monday, serve Tuesday, Wednesday, cook on Thursday, serve Thursday and Friday,
Friday,
Saturday, and then be off on Sundays. Now, whatever reality is, that'll set in later. But I've never backed down to a challenge. I was Army and oil field, so I don't. I'm not going to pat myself on the back and say that I was roughing it in the field all the time, because I was in management a lot of it. I built myself up from the beginning. I started torque and testing on a pipeline in West Monroe and ended up getting to the point where I was in the office. But I've never backed down from work. That's the thing. Like I don't mind this being a challenge. I know it's going to be hard. It's going to be different because I'm not from
that scheduling.
I'm not from the restaurant business is the big thing for me. Like, I don't have a background in it, and neither does he. So, and so it's going to be some learning curves, but at the same time, I feel like we've built a customer base and a product that, as long as I don't maliciously screw it up, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, man. Well, it's like you were saying about those guys looking at y'all saying, "Oh, we've been there." Like, here's something. It's funny now because I'll see people like at comps or anywhere, and they're just stressing out and freaking out, just like y'all were talking about, and we've all been there. Yeah. So it's funny to just giggle at them. You're like,
you can see it in their face. Yeah. Oh, dude, when we did the Brickett and Barbecue, man, like I said, I laughed at him all day. You can see it in his face. But there's been times to where it's like I could feel it in mine too. You know what I mean?
There's been some overwhelming points, man. I think you have to be the person, like, to do this successfully, to be where you are at, and to do on our stuff we've done, any of this stuff. Like, I think you have to be able to perform well under pressure, and to do it. That, and
I will say, man, we've had a shit ton of people that have just really backed us, gave us really good advice. Once again, Sunbird, Brian, and I did his barbecue class, 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe. He had a barbecue class at 7 Tap. That's when we first started talking about it. I was like, yo, I'm going to take this class because I know we know how to cook, but I want to get somebody else's knowledge. And so I met Brian that day. I met David that day, and we started talking. They were like, well, what are you trying to get out of this? I told them, and you know how it is, man. When you start telling people what you want to do, they're like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? But, like, Brian told me, man, if you have any questions, hit me up, I'll help you. And so we started having questions, and I started texting him, and he messaged me back every time, man.
Yeah, it's
wealth
one
of
thing-
knowledge, dude.
It's one thing for people to tell you, like, hey, I'll hit you up anytime, ask me a question, and then they ghost you.
But to actually
But
do it,
he's,
man.
like, legit, he'll follow through. So does David, too. I didn't have David's number until after the festival, and he's texting me. Every time I text him, he'll text me right back.
Rodrigo at Key Mexico.
Yeah,
Rodrigo,
awesome.
Great guy.
great people, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Great people. I mean, they've been fully supportive of all the guys from Seven Tap.
Yeah, shout out to those guys, man, because it wasn't for them. A lot of these, like,
Oh,
you
we would
guys,
not be where we're at. if it
me,
wasn't
like
for
I
them.
wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I ironed out a lot of kinks there. Like a lot of people, like a lot of good vendors, a lot of good like cooks. Like if it wasn't for those guys just seeing the vision, collectively seeing the vision.
They're just trying to help other people out because they know where they started and they built it up from brewing beer in their garage
Exactly.
to now look at them. They got a brewery in Shreveport. They got the bar over here.
Yeah.
I mean, but they've just been really good to us, man. Fully supportive. I mean, we owe them a lot, man. We really do. When it comes down to it, like once we get a restaurant, we'll give them some free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Some vouchers. You're the golden ticket.
VIP
No, but I
access.
mean, we've just had a
Give
good
'em a
backing,
fast
man.
pass,
I mean,
like-
even Bo sat down with me for like 2 hours inside Bojack's 2 years
Yeah.
ago, and like I said,
Voluntarily
you
just
can
giving
tell
knowledge.
when you're talking to somebody, they're like, okay, they're giving you the information, but they're also looking at you like, yeah, but what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So like. They've just been fully supportive, man. We've had a good backing. We've had tons of knowledge. He on the business side. I mean, he's helped run businesses. You know what I mean? So he's obviously more knowledgeable than me on that part. But all in all, man, I think we gel well. You know what I mean? We have a good plan, and hell, we drink and bullshit all the time. So
Yeah, that makes it a lot better.
yeah.
But it is something when that passion turns into an actual revenue stream.
Yeah.
And then trying to, I don't know, when you start scaling it, man, it's like finding the fine line between, is this work or am I still enjoying it, and trying to,
Right.
that's
Well, I actually kind of bumped that little line earlier this year. I think it was. We try to be, when we're working full time. We'd do like a pop up once every 3 months or something, and then we'd do like a weekend cook once a month or whatever. That we'd sell whole products, a whole brisket here and there and whatever. But there was a week, I don't remember. I think we had like 2 caters for the oil field and then a pop up at the 7 Tap, all back to back. And like I had to stay up and for like 3 days and working my full time job on top of that. And it, like, by that Sunday, I was like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
I sat back and thought about it, let the stress go away for a minute and really thought about it. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do this. I just got stressed out for a minute because it was so much at one time. But that's a learning curve. You got to understand how much you want to take on. Like, how much can you take on for that short amount of time? Yeah. And we're in a situation where, like, I just want any kind of big money grab that we can get our hands on, let's do it. And we took too much that week. We nailed it. We knocked it out of the park. But I wouldn't be able to sustain that full time.
No, yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard, and that's one of those things when you start scaling. It's like, okay, well, and another thing is like, as you pivot into the next chapter of your business, which you guys are doing now, there's going to be other ways to be efficient. Because the way you're serving and getting product out is going to be different than how it was. And so it's just fun. It's funny how that works because, dude, if I just taking the hours I put in this year, I probably put in twice the hours last year in 2023 than I have in 2024. And but still, I say 2024, I've got twice the work done because I've become more efficient, even though I'm still putting in a lot of hours. I mean, I'm still losing sleep, but I'm become more efficient.
Yeah, we've gotten way more efficient on everything.
The hardest part's always the beginning, man.
Yeah.
It's always the beginning. It's starting out and getting, building up to where you want to be. Once you get to where you want to be, as long as you're just not a complete dumbass and ruin it, it's smooth sailing after that. I'm not going to say smooth sailing. You're still going to have your days, what I mean? But it's going to be a lot simpler.
Some of the things, too, though, that I credit him to, that we, instead of trying to take on too much as far as a menu, like he mentioned from the beginning, let's start with a very, very basic menu.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, nah, bro, we got to have all
He
kinds of
wanted
stuff.
everything.
Yeah. He was like, no, we're going to have like brisket, ribs, and mac and cheese. That's it. And we got to perfect it and then move on to something else. And that's what we did. Moving for the last 2 years, we built added a menu item, perfected it, add a menu item, perfect it, and it's gotten to the point where now we've got, 24 things that we can technically say are on the menu, but they're all perfect, and we've streamlined the efficiency in all of them instead of trying to figure out like 20 things all at once, and it's chaos.
Yeah.
And
number one, if you add a bunch of stuff to the menu, like you said, you can't be efficient. There's just no way, not with the amount of people we have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then so you start messing stuff up, and then before you know it, the beans don't taste right. The brisket's a little dry. The ribs are overcooked and falling apart. Some people like them like that. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like you can't sacrifice it. All it takes is one bad experience and one bad Google review, and it could ruin so much for you. You know what I mean?
You have to make everything count. I know you guys have been there. I find myself there too, where it never. I can put out a lot of good stuff, but sometimes it's just not perfect, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I have to put this out. Now it still tastes good, but for me, I'm like, if I could have just got it perfect,
I will take a whole rack of ribs if I start slicing them. I'm like, these ain't good. I'll take them, and we won't serve them. You know what I mean? Because you can't, man. I mean,
I'm giving new kids.
It's having pride in what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And wanting to put out the best product that there is, and that's one thing like I've always wanted to do. Because honestly, since I was probably like 18 years old, sports bars were blowing up. So like that was my thing. I always wanted to cook. I always wanted to open my own place. I almost went to culinary art school, but I also grew up in the ghetto. So I was like, I'm probably gonna get picked on for that. So probably not gonna do this. But like I've always wanted to do that. So for me, this is a dream coming true. Which I appreciate him for, because when I brought it up to him, like I said, the way he looked at me, I was like, oh, I was going to do it regardless.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been as successful as I am without him with me. You know what I mean? But like, it was always a plan for me to open up something. When I brought it to him sending me that text message, I felt so much better. Because I was like, okay, he actually does want to do this, and it's not just drunk talk. You know what I mean? Sitting by a bonfire, we'll serve some fucking barbecue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll look at some pits. Y'all looking at pits on Marketplace while you're talking shit, drinking.
Yeah,
it was cool. What if we got that?
So like when he did that, I felt good about it, man. I mean, and
yeah, that night when he brought it up, my wheels were turning, and I was trying to think, like, is he just drunk talking, or is he for real? And then also, I was thinking in the back of my head, like, it is a legit shot. Like, we both can cook, and we don't get any bad feedback. So I gave it some time, sat on it, thought on it, prayed on it, and then talked to an old, boss that I had that got me into the oil field. He's a lunatic, but he was really a genius, and he's good in business. But shout out to Kenny Baye. I hit him up, and he basically gave me literally, I just called him and said, hey man, if I were thinking about starting a barbecue business, and like that's all it took, and he gave me a rant for like 20 minutes of like, do this, watch out for that, don't do this, it's going to take this much time for that. And I'm like sitting here scrambling, trying to write notes and stuff, because I know this dude, like, his brain works at a different level, and I wasn't going to get him to regurgitate it, and I wasn't asking him for all that stuff, but he offered it up.
Yeah.
So then I took all of those notes, and I'm sitting there pondering on that, and then I finally mustered it up and shot Martin some information, and he was like, let's do it.
Yeah, man, it's something. When you have when you have a community of people who want to help everyone do better.
Yeah.
Because there's so many communities to where if someone's doing good, you got a barbecue business, well then I don't want that other guy who's starting a barbecue business. They're going to talk shit, and they don't want them to succeed because they think it's going to mess up them. Yeah. But in reality, if I put you on, it's going to help me and you both a lot more than me putting you down. And I think we're just in a good community, like all of us in a good community, not only in like the barbecue world, but in just in business and in this area, to where we have so many people that are supporting each other's growth, no matter what industry you're in, and no matter if you're quote unquote competition or not.
Yeah, the company, I mean, it's testament to the new group in town that we're actually using a barbecue company's kitchen as a commissary for our restaurant, for our food truck. So, I mean, they could easily have been like, no, you're not using my restaurant as a commissary. Go find something else, because they're a barbecue company too.
Yeah.
But now they're going to let us use their kitchen as a commissary. And
even like Bitter Creek.
Yeah.
You know, we do pop-ups right next to them.
Right.
You know, and me and Jody, I'm sure you and Jody, we text all the time, you know, ask each other questions. He's made sausage, sent it to me, asked me for feedback, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. The area is just, people are good, man.
Yeah.
Not everybody's bad.
Have you
know what I mean?
experimented
No,
in the
for sure.
sausage making game?
No, honestly, I'm not even interested, man.
He said,
I'm not interested because of for me the time. I don't think it's worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze for me.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think I would be more like our boy over in Monroe. In Ruston, and I'd be going after the boudin game more than the sausage for me because I like the brisket boudins and the pulled pork. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't, man. I really haven't. I enjoy some great craft sausage. I had Sunburst when they did the collab a couple of weeks ago.
Cheeseburger sausage?
Yeah, it was good. Like, I enjoy a great sausage, but I just have no interest in it, man. I want to just keep on doing some stuff. I'm getting into beef ribs, doing those more.
Yeah.
But there's not a market for that. I mean, it's got to be a signature item because it's so expensive.
Well, dude, I mean, you go to a barbecue place in Texas, you're spending like $50 for a beef rib. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people around here,
they're not gonna pay
just
for
don't
it.
want to.
That had to be like a special dinner thing.
Yeah.
Plated something nice, but I love doing those. Anything beef, man. I really love doing anything.
The
beef.
sausage thing, I don't know, for whatever reason, I've always wanted to perfect that. I just recently made the first batch, like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. And it turned out good. I mean, I'm happy for the first sausage I ever made. It looked and tastes great. But right now, so where we're at on that, though, is we've got, I got a 31 cubic feet deep freezer that's almost completely full of trim.
Yeah.
Like a couple 100 pounds of trim. And I'm not going to throw it out. We did in the beginning. In the beginning, when we first started, we didn't have the right equipment to do anything with it anyways.
Right.
And we didn't know what to do. We threw away so much stuff, dude. Like
A lot of
endless
waste.
amounts that we could have made profit on. But now with the right, I got, we're set up with LEMs, grinder, meat mixer.
Yeah, you got everything.
We have everything, the stuff for the vac seal it. We got somewhere to freeze it. We got everything we need now. So we're trying to figure out what to do with it. Some people are saying make burgers with it. Some people are saying make sausage with it.
Yeah.
But we're experimenting. And sausage, it just intrigues me because you can do whatever you want. You can put whatever you want in it. And so that to me is kind of cool because you can be really creative with it. The first one, I just went simple. I went Gouda cheese with some poblano peppers.
That sounds great.
And it turned out great. But, he's kind of our recipe guy, I guess. And he's, I have...
The cheeses doesn't mix with the
he
peppers,
wants to
man.
right.
You got to
use
look at the
Osaka
flavor profiles, you know what I mean?
So-
So when we started this, because I am from Southern California, my mom's Mexican, so I'm half Mexican. We wanted to go with something around here. Everybody loves Mexican food, you know what I mean? And so because of that, and then with my background growing up, my grandma cooked rice and beans with everything, dude. We could have hot dogs.
Yeah, right, you got rice and beans.
we having rice and beans, you know what I mean? So I wanted to do that, and so we leaned into the craft barbecue thing, and so I just look at that kind of stuff, and for me it's like, okay, you did poblano peppers, we need to do like Waskom cheese, something like that. So I just feel like the flavor profiles go good, but I also love Gouda, you know what I mean? I think that you just got to kind of figure out the right way to mix things and to do things like that, man.
So far, all his suggestions, though, that's why we kind of agreed that he's the recipe guy. Because usually, even I'll come up with something and make it, and he's like, change this and it'll be better. And it is. And so we've been, I lean on him on that. So
I don't just watch barbecue videos, man. I've followed a lot of chefs, and I've watched a lot of videos throughout way before I ever met him, man. I mean, it's just I enjoy cooking.
That's where I've gotten now to where once you've got over the fence of learning how to smoke all these things and get all this barbecue out, then it's like, okay, now I'm testing all these different cuisines and how I can
how do you make it better
together. And also fusion. If you can take barbecue and fuse it into however you can fusion it with stuff. That's when we do the preps, we try to do that, make these recipes and having these guys are badass chefs and learning from them, and now I can say I'm not just a barbecue guy. I can do other shit, which is cool because barbecue's amazing, but there's still always so much more you can do. With barbecue, with anything,
man. I mean, the whole point of anything is to be better than you were the day before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that is. It just as being a human being in general, you know what I mean? You just want to be better than you were the day before. I feel like that's what it should be.
Well, yeah, that, and also, like, there's so many, think about these classic, like, just barbecue establishments that were, like, here forever, and they just had this one thing.
Yeah.
Well, you can do more than just that one thing.
Yeah.
And that recipe could be one staple, but you can make another version. Like, for instance, everyone loves the pulled pork I do. That's great. I've got that figured out. I think that's probably the best thing I do. And that's not saying much, but I've just kind of hung my hat on that and learned to start doing the other things. Well, I take that same pulled pork and then we can use it and make carnitas with it. And it's a completely different taste. But it's still, so like there's different things you can do. You don't have to just sit on that flagship and say, this is all we're going to do. This is the only way I'm ever going to do it. Not changing nothing,
And I don't want to be like that. I want him to make different kinds of sausage, and I want to make different flavors of ribs, different flavors of burnt ends, and all these different things. I mean, why not?
The time is the part I'm struggling with the sausage. Like because it's time consuming. It's a lot. The process. I realized that one day I knew going into it that it was going to be a lot, but that day, every little detail from measuring the spices, because you can't wing it on sausage. It has to be.
You don't know what you got till it's done.
And it's from measuring it to grinding it, mixing it, stuffing it, cleaning up the mess, and then the meat mixer was literally brutal trying to clean that thing out. And it's a long day of just trying to make sausage, and I don't know how you can fit that into unless you have a whole team behind you.
Well, that's
that's like you. But then also, man, I don't know. There's so many sausages that people think are great, I think are horrible. But I would say that's why I don't really want to get into. I don't know, man. Like, I don't think everyone would like my sausage because I don't like a really super fatty sausage. Like, if you're going to give me a sausage, I prefer like the leanest possible without being dry. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, and whether it's you do a chicken version or a beef version or a pork version, like I love deer sausage if it's made correctly because it doesn't have too much fat.
Right.
Like, there's another local place that's great and renowned, but for me, I don't like it. Yeah. And I never have. Everyone else likes it. So that's another reason why I didn't want to get into it. I was just like, I don't know if everyone prefer how I like my sausage, So
there is, you're going to find more people that like brisket than you do people that like sausage. Yeah. Or more people that like ribs that like sausage. That's a fact. Like, there's not a lot of people. You're either a sausage guy or not.
Yeah, like, you see that at pop-ups. Yeah, because you'll see a guy that walk up and they just want that.
That's one thing too with the sausage. Like, we started out, we cooked like 24 links or something. We
He's like everybody
3.
wants sausage with barbecue. Nobody wants sausage at all.
And then one random day, they got bought out for whatever reason. But it's so random.
But you can tell if you make your own sausage. You can tell, like, that's when you're legit. Like, if someone comes up and your sausage is good, you make it, then you can hang your hat on that and say,
oh yeah,
well, this takes a lot of damn work. And people who are sausage guys,
it's a prideful thing.
They know it. They're like, okay, they'll ask you because they'll ask me, hey, you make your own sauce? Yeah, I mean, I kind of do. I take a few sauces and blend them together. That's how I make mine. I'm not going to make it from scratch. Josh makes an amazing one. Well, we do that for competition. We're not doing it to scale it. We don't have a restaurant, so we're not. But like, then the next question: make your own sauce. Make your own sausage. I'm like, no, dude, I don't even cook sausage. Because I don't want to cook someone else's I don't like, and I don't have time to make my own.
No, dude. I mean, honestly, most barbecue places they have a guy who just makes sausage all day. Like, that's what he does, and that's the only reason they have time. We'll do it when we can do it. I mean, hopefully one day we get to that point to where we have somebody who will just make sausage for us all day. You know what I mean? But that's the dream. That's the goal. But I think we'll get there.
Well, you started touching on earlier about the, I think you're fixing to ask what the future looks like.
Yeah. Let's get into that because we're about to. We'll get one more drink of this. We got a couple more minutes. We'll have to wrap this up. But let's talk. I want y'all to try this out. This is a Grand Mayan. Thomas is the guy who works here with us. He's a great guy. Got me this, and we've already had it on a tequila talk, and it's amazing. But I told you guys you want a little more?
What is?
I'm serving you like I'm trying to serve myself because I don't want a lot. You want some more?
Just a tad.
This is a extra.
It smells good.
It's an extra añejo. It's amazing.
What is the name of that damn tequila that?
Man, I don't remember.
Dude, so it's probably been about 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, one of my good friends, he actually owns Joe Cigo, the pizza place I just opened up. Yeah. So his wife is best friends with my wife for years and years, man. But we go to his house for a Christmas thing, And he's like, hey, I got this tequila. You want some? And I'm like, yeah. Take a drink. It was mezcal. It had that nice smoky flavor. I'm like, oh, that shit's good. I don't like it. You want it? I'm like, whole bottle is in Spanish, man. I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is. I'll take it. It tastes good. I mean, yeah, why not? He comes to the house and we're cooking, and I'm like, hey, man, let's break this bottle out. Let's try it. And so he gets all interested. Well, how much was that damn thing?
Well, he thought it was just a basic bottle of whiskey of
I didn't
tequila.
know what the hell it was.
And I hit up some the guys I worked with. They were from Mexico and stuff, and they're like, "You can't get that here." And started telling me like, "I can't even find it online. Can't find it in stores or whatever." And finally, somebody found me a link, sent it to me, and it was like $600 for a bottle. I was like, "Holy shit!"
He was pouring the second shot. I was like, "All right, that's the last one. That's the last one right there."
We're gonna hang on to this. But yeah, what's the future look like? Salute, fellas.
Salute.
What do y'all? What's the next plan?
Get this damn trailer going, man. Get him out there on the road. Hopefully, we can start making enough money to where I'll be out there with them. I mean, that's the actual, plan.
I think business-wise, the next step is to pay the loans off.
Yeah.
And then finding a building is going to be later. If for whatever reason we hit the ground and like blow the doors down and I'm making, $20,000 a week or whatever it is, then sure, I'm gonna come to his house and be like, hey, let's talk about you doing this full time with me. And then at that point, I don't want to both run the trailer full time. I'll either want to have 2 trailers because we can do it, or open a restaurant.
Yeah.
And if we're making enough money, let's just be honest. If we're making enough money for us both to not work another job, then we're probably at the point where you can open a restaurant.
Yeah,
I don't want to both sit in a trailer all day, unless the money's just outrageous.
Yeah, I think with this, it's something you got to play by ear. Definitely, you know what I mean.
I think it's great because doing it slow and doing it right, just like you guys are doing, and like that's what we figured out too. It's just like if you don't take that step until it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maximize everything you have as much as possible until it's like, oh, look at each other and be like, okay, man. Well, I mean, we've literally wrung this rag out as much as we can. And let's go to the next step.
And like the biggest thing is, he's got young kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, my kids are a little bit older, but we have kids, man. I don't want my kids to have to struggle because of my dream. You know what I mean?
That's another hard thing.
Yeah. That's the thing. You got to balance. Like, you don't want to drag it out to the point to where you're ruining your family's future, but at the same time, you don't want to work a 9-to-5 every day and set them up to where there's nothing for them to take over.
Yeah, man, it's a hard balance. I think about that all the time. Like, we spend enough time with the kids. That's why we're not going to be here for Thanksgiving and the day. Like, we're literally that's the only days we don't have catering or other work. Yeah. So like, we're just getting out of town with them because like the few days we have away from doing this every single day, you got to kind of try to maximize that. And it's hard, dude, because in this industry, especially you're hitting that trailer, dude, like if the opportunity's there, you got to jump on it because you got to make the money. And then at some point, it's like when you get into the restaurant business, you got to live there.
Oh yeah,
you can't not be there.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. So it's one of those things where you're going to have to give this 10 years. 10 years of your life to get it rolling to where you can then let it go.
You have to give it 100%, and that we talked about that way before this opportunity of him going out presented itself. Was we knew at some point one of us was going to have to go 100%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If one of us didn't go 100%, it was never going to work. We were going to stay stagnant, and we were never going to progress.
Yeah.
The opportunity just presented itself for him to do it. So.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit at the beginning where we were just like, this is right now, people would ask us, hey, what are you planning on doing? Y'all taking this full time, whatever. And we would tell them, like, hey, this is just a hobby that we're putting some side money back, whatever. And the plan right now is just to do what we love and hopefully somebody will pay for it and then see where it takes us. Yeah. And now we're here. So
anytime I went to 7 Tap or anytime I went to Key Mexico to go eat lunch or something.
When are y'all setting up?
Yeah. When are you going to open a restaurant? Where are you guys going to be out this weekend? What do you got? It was just, it's been nonstop, man. So
and it's pretty cool because like people start to recognize you around town and stuff. Like I don't want to be a celebrity or anything by any means, but like go shopping at Sam's to go get meat and stuff, and some guy recognize you and like, hey, you're one of the CalTex guys, huh? Where
it
y'all
makes
gonna
you
be
feel
at
good,
next
man.
weekend?
No, yeah, it does make you feel good. I think There's something so rewarding about someone eating something. It's like something you spent 20 hours preparing, and then someone put it in their mouth, and then they look at you and like,
And they love it. Yeah, exactly.
What was it? The guy. So we did a Pop Up at 7 Tap. There was a guy he was a radio station host.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. Yeah, but he's from
he
California.
Loved the beans and stuff too.
He was a radio station host.
He was like, open a brick and mortar tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes you feel good. You know what I mean?
Well, it gives you
That's
incentive
success.
to keep doing it.
When you're doing this, that is success. Because you're not gonna make a shit ton of money.
No.
You know what I mean? No. You got to really build yourself up to get to that point. You know what I mean? But it makes you feel good inside.
I think the end goal, and he hasn't finished the video, but I sent him a link to it. I think, and I'll say that I watched it before Brian and them posted it. So just Brian Bingham, he posted it on Facebook too about the burnt bean had I think it was a YouTube video that somebody did a little, what are they called?
Like an interview.
I guess it was like a day in the life of the burnt bean. Kind of talked about their past and whatever. And then there was another one. I can't remember what the other guy's name is, and I can't remember which one the end of it was. But at the end, basically, he said that his end dream is to. It was the burnt bean one. He starts off as the cutting guy, and he's like gets too old and slow to move over to being the sides guy, and he gets too old, and they're like kicked him down to the next line to the garnishing guy, and then they kick him down here to seating tables or whatever. And then he said his end goal eventually is to be the guy sitting at the corner of the bar watching the line be served and smoke a cigar and sit back and relax and look at what he built. And that's kind of the end goal. I mean, I want to I'm being a social guy my whole life. I love being social with people and building relationships. And if you can build an establishment kind of like what the East Bank did with, it's an incredible place for people to come downtown and hang out and enjoy life and meet new people and eat a product that you've put together. That's kind of the end goal.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man. That's
a restaurant that you can hang your hat on and be happy.
Yeah.
That's
some good music, some good drinks, good food.
Yeah, man.
Just hang out.
And stories along the way. I had one, man, for whatever reason I was thinking about it a minute ago when you were talking about cooking overnight and stuff. I don't know if you can see, I got a little scar right here on my nose.
That shit was funny.
It was about a year ago. I was doing an overnight cook, and it was one of them situations like today where I had something to do and I couldn't cook during the day, so I'm gonna end up having to cook overnight. Well, that night I was cooking, several briskets and stuff, and I got to where I'd set an alarm every hour, and I'd get up once, and I got it streamlined to where I could be up, do what I need to do, back down in like 3 minutes, and be back to sleep. And I'd have an alarm for another hour. Dude, and just like muscle memory. So I go outside. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I walk out my door, walk out to the pit, bust the door open, stoke it, turn around to grab a log I had a wood rack right behind me, and there was a rake leaned up against it. I turned around and my foot stepped on it just right to where it slapped me in the face.
Like a damn cartoon?
Like a cartoon. And, it like literally stunned me. I was kind of seeing stars, and I was like, oh, God, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't think that it did anything at first. I threw the rake out of the way, grabbed the log, and when I turned around, blood fell on the ground right in front of me. I was like, oh. So I threw a log in there, closed the door up, and I didn't want to go touch anything else at that point. I was like, walk inside, woke my wife up. At the time, she was working as an ER nurse, and right now she's the floor manager at Piermont. But I walked in there, I woke her up. She's like, oh my God, what happened? I was like, I hit myself with a rake. She literally had to get some surgical glue and like glue my nose together and stuff.
Damn.
And I was like, hurry up, I gotta wash my hands and go check the meat and stuff. Like 1 o'clock in the morning.
I don't think he can help but to hurt himself whenever he does stuff. Like, I don't understand how he's so accident prone, man, but he's always like, yeah, I did this or I did that. And it's just like, he almost cut his damn leg off like a year ago with a damn chainsaw.
Yeah,
I did that. I cut my whole, you can see my kneecap. I was cutting it happens, bro. I was cutting some small trees down. I was in the oil field and our rig was down. I was working on workover. And they were like, go down there and clear this. They were building a yard down the road. I was at Thero Story at the time. And the manager, Mike is his name, old school roughneck guy. He sent us down there, gave us some steels, and we're cutting these all these 3 or 4 inch trees, getting them ready to, for them to build this yard. And I look down and there's a hole in my damn jeans and I can see my kneecap. Dude, you talking about scared?
Well, yeah, there was a windstorm. It was probably a year and a half ago or so, came through. And my dad, where he lives down American Plant Road in between Waskom and Elysian Fields, he's back down a dirt road past some oil field locations and in a single wide trailer, and electricity is out for a week, and he no way of getting. There's like several trees down, no way of getting out. He's like literally stranded back there, and
he didn't want to call nobody.
Swepco was, oh, we're gonna get to you when I get to you, and kind of stuff. And one of the trees was actually touching power lines that had fell over and stuff, and so I decided one day, I was like, you know what, I'm going to head that way. So I head that way, and it was literally an adventure. Like, I had to cut trees out of American Plant Road to get to his dirt road. When I get to his dirt road, I drive all the way down it, drive through a pasture and cut the tree out of the way to get to his house, checked on him, told him I'm going to start clearing stuff. I go back up there, and there was an oak tree that had fallen over that was still kind of up on its trunk a little bit, but it was falling over across the road, and it was being held out by its limbs, big oak tree. And I started limbing it out, and I was trying to be cautious of like where the weight's at and everything. Well, I didn't realize it, but it was kind of twisted at the trunk when it fell over. And when I cut a specific limb, literally the entire thing fell toward me.
Oh shit!
And I'm out like almost no cell service. I mean, almost Legion Field, so the closest hospital is 30 minutes away. So, like, all this in a blink of an eye, the tree fell toward me, and while I'm cutting this limb, I kind of just, like, let go of the chainsaw, pushed it, and kind of fell backwards. And I hit the ground, and I crawled backwards, and I didn't feel anything at first, and I stood up, and my leg gave out. Well, what happened was the chainsaw somehow came back to me and went through my calf. And
oh, shit. So, you did, too. So, you know what it feels like then?
It fucked it up.
Oh,
like, it
God.
I literally, like, started hobbling. The truck was on the other side of the tree. Hobbled around to the other side of the tree, got my phone, text my wife 911, and then called 911. And then I was panicking, so I started cussing the 911 operator. And then I texted a few people, and I drive out to the main road because I was in an area where I couldn't even get phone signal to really stay good, Dude, it was rough. And then they picked me up, took me to LSU, and I don't know if you've been to the trauma center, but that's a whole experience.
Yeah, I caught my face on fire. There's another story. But yeah, that was in high school. That was stupid shit in high school. I have been there.
Dude, they roll you in, and that's a well-oiled operation. Yeah. Like, there's 20 people that all have different jobs, and before the doors even close, they're all doing what they're supposed to, and it's overwhelming to say the least. But luckily they don't. I severely tore up the muscle and stuff and the calf muscle was like, they had to sew the muscle back together. They had to pull a lot of the skin back together and stuff, obviously, because a chainsaw doesn't make a pretty cut.
No.
And
it looked like a bear.
I used a
mangled his leg.
A telephone, like an iPhone charger.
I was going to ask you
as a tourniquet.
I was going to say, how'd you stop the bleeding?
And it wasn't like, it was weird because it was, dude, there was chunks and nasty stuff, and I'm sorry to your viewers, but I mean, it was gnarly, and it was bleeding real bad at the beginning. And by the time I got to the road, I was holding pressure on it. And when I taking my shirt off and putting it on it. By the time I took it off, it still was bleeding, but it wasn't like profusely.
Yeah.
So, but my wife, she's works in the medical field. She was like, "You've got to stop the bleeding, whether you know that you've hit something or not." So, and like literally, I'm sitting here on the phone with her with my leg and my t-shirt and stuff, and the first thing I seen was a phone cord. I rip it out of the dash and tied it around my leg.
Yeah, dude, you gotta do what you gotta do.
The EMT showed up and they were like, "Is that a phone charger?" I was like, "Leave it there until we get to the hospital."
Yeah, no shit.
Day in the life of Charles Brickett.
Yeah, that chainsaw cut's way more interesting than mine. They just sewed. Mine wasn't even bleeding bad, dude. It's weird. Like there was no blood vessels right there, and the kneecap was just hanging out. And they just sewed it all back up, numbed it all with shots, and while I was awake. And
put some ice on it and you're good, huh?
Yeah, I just couldn't bend it for like 2 or 3 weeks, kind of just try to keep your legs straight and hobble around on it. But no, dude, that's crazy. Well, let's end this on that. But
I'll find a picture and send it to you later.
Show it to me. Let's end this, but I wanted to say, like, if you guys got any last shout outs or anything else you want to say before we close out?
I mean, our wives, probably, our families, because for putting up with we're not easy to deal with. So, especially when we're doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people that have helped us, the way we just talk shit, and that's what we do. So, thanks for everybody who's helped us. Like I said, 7-Tap, Key Mexico, Bo, Sunbird.
Outside of the business side, for me, family, like, my mom helped. She's a graphic designer and stuff. She helped she designed our logo. She made the shirts and stuff for us, and really helped us along on that route. My in-laws, incredible family that without them, I think we'd both be in a bind, because they watch my kids every day and make it to where I can do this stuff. And it's without, that background, without that foundation, I wouldn't be able to do none of this. Some people that helped me along the way with business savvy stuff, somebody, like Kenny Baye and Clay Carlisle, some guys that business side that really helped me. And then one lunatic that wants to get into the entertainment, Walter Saunders. I call him anytime I want a different angle to something. Yeah. Dude, if you can get him in here, he's got more energy in his pinky than all three of us combined. Like, incredible guy. He's somebody that you can just, it doesn't matter. You just call him and you'll be in a better mood.
Yeah. No, man, honestly, I think we, like before, I think we've just had a real good backing. We've had a lot of good people help us. I'm sure there's probably somebody we're forgetting, here or there, but we've been lucky. We've been pretty damn lucky, in all honesty. I can't complain about any of it. It's been a short ride so far, but pretty damn good one, I think.
Oh yeah, I got a long road ahead of you, dude. But hey, I'm rooting for you guys. Congratulations on the next step, bro, and I appreciate you guys coming on, and look forward to seeing what else you guys got coming out.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.